Hello, this is Jamie Mitchell, and we are back with another episode of the Libertarian Uncensored podcast, going over all the posts on the Libertarian Uncensored subreddit. Let's get right into it. So first we have the Ian buys Alex Jones's InfoWars at auction from BBC.com by FlimsyAl5563, and they added, "I cannot successfully put into words the full meta irony of the situation. That's what I'd share. Not really linked to libertarianism either, but followers will enjoy this shading fruit." And I personally think that they shouldn't have forced Alex Jones to sell off in the first place. I heard him say also that he got it back. So I don't know if that's true or not, but regardless, I personally don't think he should have been forced to sell InfoWars in the first place, because he was just forced into bankruptcy because he used his free speech. But I personally don't really care for the ways he uses free speech, but that doesn't mean it wasn't free speech. If someone acted on what he said to harass someone else, that should be on the person who's harassing someone else rather than what he said. And that's my thoughts on that issue. So I personally don't think he should have been forced to sell InfoWars, especially not to a company full of DNC shitlibs like The Onion. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Justice Department employees stunned at Trump's insane, unbelievable choice of Matt Gaetz for Attorney General from NBCNews.com by Donald Key. And yeah, I personally think Matt Gaetz is probably one of Trump's better appointments. He's one of the more outsider picks. I personally like the more outsider picks. I do think he probably has some character issues. But regardless, a lot of people are either really hyping up this pick or really letting it get them down. I don't think it really matters. I think, most people like Matt Gaetz, even the outsiders in DC, are controlled opposition at best. So I don't really think it's going to change too much, regardless of how many people might be, how people might think otherwise. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have what to know about Florida Rep Matt Gaetz, Trump's pick to serve as Attorney General from APnews.com from another sexy bald guy. That's supposed to buy, and as I said, I personally don't think Matt Gaetz, I personally think he's probably one of the better picks, but regardless, I still think he's going to end up being controlled opposition just like the rest of them. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have RFK Jr. is Libertarian from Ragnarok KXG, and that's a crosspost from the No Words Figuritarian subreddit. It says No Words Needed, and that's a tweet from the Libertarian Party. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has been nominated as the United States Secretary of Health and Human Services. He is a member of the Libertarian Party, is in joint fundraising agreement with all of us, and spoke at our national convention. He's not Libertarian, we're thinking he would represent us in D.C., but could we be getting two Libertarians in this administration? And I personally wouldn't consider RFK Jr. to be a Libertarian, maybe in comparison to some of the typical neocon war hawks that the Republican Party usually surrounds itself with. But regardless, I definitely do think he's probably one of the better picks that Trump has made for his cabinet. And hopefully he'll be able to take down Big Pharma. I personally don't really care for Big Pharma. I think if people want to use interact with Big Pharma, they should be able to do so. But and that's why I think he might try and stop the freedom of association, but in that regard. But regardless, I think Big Pharma is definitely not your friends, and it's crazy how a lot of people on the left now support Big Pharma because the TV said to, and because they said and the TV says vaccines are good, so they have to support Big Pharma, even though they're responsible for the opioid epidemic, which has ruined millions of lives. And I think that's important to remember as well. So yeah, I definitely do like how he's going to take on Big Pharma. Even if I personally would say that, the government regulating companies, even if they are a Big Pharma, isn't libertarian, but if he wants to justify doing that as a mission of authority to do so, I guess he should be able to do so. But yeah, I personally wouldn't consider him libertarian if I personally would agree with what he's doing. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have what's behind Defense Secretary pick has gifts war on woke, along with good background information. So this is one of Trump's scary leadership picks from NPR.org by Tom Furchan. And I personally think Hegseth probably is one of not one of the better picks of Trump. I like more like the RFK Juniors or the Tulsi Gabbards, but I do think he's just gonna be like a typical neocon and just circle jerk himself. Just probably get us into war with Iran. They really seem to be pushing Trump into war with Iran. And that's probably one of my biggest disagreements with Trump, and why I'm not going to vote for him. He seems like he's really up Israel's ass even more than the Democrats, and the Democrats are pretty up there as well. And that's my thoughts there. Regardless, all these appointments, a lot of people didn't last the whole 4 years last time. I won't be surprised if a lot of people don't last the whole 4 years this time in regards to Trump and his cabinet. Then we have Trump picks his attorney, Todd Blanche, for Deputy Attorney General from Swamp Yankee Dan. That's crosspost from the r/law subreddit. And yeah, I personally don't think Trump should be rewarding people for being his attorney, but if he wants to justify doing that, he should be able to do so. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Ryan Walters requires Oklahoma students to watch prayer videos. Some districts opt out from News9.com by Swamp Yankee Dan. And I personally think, ultimately schools are something I don't think the government should have any role in. And I think if schools do want to show a prayer video, I think they should be able to do so. I don't think they should be forced to do so if they don't want to. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have my 11-year-old walked less than a mile away from home. I was arrested and charged with reckless conduct from BusinessInsider.com by Flimsy Al 5563. And yeah, I definitely don't think that's good. I don't think people should be charged with crimes for just letting their kids walk home from school or for something. That's very authoritarian government. That's why you shouldn't be. If no one's harmed, it's a victimless crime, and that's very much what I see in this situation. Then we have UK security fears over Trump's intelligence chief and possible data leaks from inews.co.uk by Tom 13. And yeah, I personally do think the UK is obviously gonna be against anything Trump does because, well, it's not just the UK, it's any of the security states. They're going to probably be against anything Trump does because he marks himself as a threat to the security state. But regardless, I think it might just all be theater. I think they just might be, as I said earlier, I think there might just be controlled opposition at best. Then we have Walmart slapping cameras on all their employees. They employ 2% of America. The company needs union now. That's a post from Swamp Yankee Dan. It's a post from the Walmart subreddit. Body cameras for front end. And yeah, I personally don't think people should be forced to wear cameras if they don't want to. But sometimes jobs require you to do stuff you don't want to do, and sometimes you just have to grin and bear it. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Speaker Johnson says he's going to request Ethics Committee not release Gates report from CNN.com from Donald Key. And yeah, I personally, if he doesn't want to release it, I don't think he should be forced to release it. That's very libertarian, justify doing whatever you want to as long as you're not hurting anyone else. And yeah, that's my thoughts there. Then we have breaking. The Pentagon has failed its 7th annual audit in a row. It says it's still unable to fully account for its more than $124 billion budget. And that's a tweet from Unusual Whales, and it's a cross post by Donald Key, and it's cross post from the Unusual Whales subreddit. And yeah, I definitely do think that's why we should cut military spending, especially to places like Israel and Ukraine, because we're already wasting so much of it here. Why waste it in other countries as well? And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Trump skips FBI background checks for controversial cabinet picks report from TheGuardian.com by Ninja Lover. And yeah, as I said earlier, the security state is clearly going to be against Trump, so I don't know why he would want to have them get background checks. They're just going to probably be negative in the first place. So I guess I could see what he's doing, what justifying not letting them have background checks. And if he doesn't want them to have background checks, I don't think he should be forced to do so. Then we have time to defund the Pentagon. by Ragnarok KXG, and that's a tweet from Warren Gunnels. Daily reminder, Medicare for All would save $650 billion a year and 68,000 lives each and every year. And that was him quote tweeting the tweet from earlier from Unusual Whales. Pentagon unable to account for $824 billion budget, failing its 7th consecutive financial audit. Well, that's actually from Watcher Guru, but I think that's the same people who run Unusual Whales. But regardless, I definitely would agree that we shouldn't be throwing all our money into the Pentagon. But I don't think Medicare for All is the libertarian option either. I think if people want the government to pay for Medicare through voluntary taxation, they should be able to. I think if people want to opt out of that, they should be able to as well. So I personally would say it should be Medicare, for government Medicare if you want. But because I think if you want the government to pay for healthcare, I think you should be able to do so and fund the government accordingly. But not everyone wants that. Some people want their healthcare to be funded through private companies, and I think that people should be able to go that route as well if they wish. Or maybe some people just don't want insurance at all. I think that's okay too. So that's my thoughts there. Then we have it's nice to see libertarians hating on Trump again from Andrew Quaxon. And they added, I just wish they were hating on the whole fascism thing even half as hard as they were hating on the taxes thing. And yeah, I personally don't really care for Trump, but by Reddit standards, I'm seen as a Trump lover because I don't think he's the worst thing ever. I think he's more par for the course than worst thing ever. But, this subreddit is predominantly leftist dominated, even if it calls itself Libertarian Uncensored, because it's not that libertarian, it's mostly just progressive leftists who were banned from the main Libertarian subreddit. And as for being uncensored, they justified censoring me a few months ago, and I'm still banned from there. So it just goes to show you how on Reddit, it's inherently going to be a leftist dominated platform, even if it might market itself, even if it used to market itself like 10 years ago as a more libertarian leaning platform. And that's my thoughts there. I definitely don't like Donald Trump. Even if I do think, he might be better than the alternative, that doesn't make him good. I think he really just only jerks himself off and riles everyone up by doing stupid stuff while not changing anything from the previous administrations that came before and after him. And I think the presidency is mostly just a figurehead at this point. It's not a position of real power. It's just a look at me position. While the government deep state continues to bomb the Middle East and spend like there's no tomorrow. So I don't think it really matters too much whether you love him or hate him. That's my thoughts there. Then we have Trump confirms plans to declare national emergency for mass deportations from HuffPost.com by Swamphanky Dan. And I personally don't care for that, but ultimately if he wants to do that and have the government deport people for any reason whatsoever, the government already has the force to do whatever it wants, so that's ultimately something that people have to live with, I guess. And yeah, that's my thoughts on that issue. So I think we're gonna wrap it up there. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.